Welcome to Tuesday Testimonials, where we explore the lives and commitment of the sons and daughters of USF. I'm Frank Allocco, and today I am pleased to be here with Amy Touli, one of the great and legendary women's basketball players and the radio color commentator for USF women's basketball. Amy, I got to tell you, the first time I saw you was at an AD circle meeting, and Roger Salquist, one of the great friends of the university, looked at you and said to me, "Now there's a great shooter." And I thought that was so impressive that's how he remembered you. And so that was my first experience. And then I found out that you are seventh all time. You made 122 three-pointers. So I think it's great that you're remembered as a great scorer. So there you go.
Well, I'm very humbled by that. Yeah, thank you to Roger Salquist for remembering that, for sure.
So Amy, let's talk about your life and, starting out as a young player. Did you always want to be a basketball player? Did you have a sports background? What was your mind process?
Well, I think, no, I just wanted to go outside and play. I didn't necessarily think, okay, I'm going to be a basketball player when I was a little girl. Actually, basketball didn't come until a little bit later for me by today's standards, probably not until junior high school. Oh. But, I grew up in a time where kids were out in the street playing. We played tag, or there was a hoop in the neighbor's yard, and we would go shoot around just because that was something to do. And I have older siblings, and my older siblings played sports, and a lot of the sports didn't start till you were 8 or 9 back then, and so I couldn't wait to go play whenever it was my turn to sign up. And it didn't matter what it was. For me, it was soccer. I think was first. You could start that youngest, and then softball, and then went into basketball a little bit later, like I said.
And what motivated you to go to basketball? Did you have friends that played, or a coach that motivated you? Or
yeah, my soccer coach actually was his favorite sport was basketball, and he knew that I was a pretty decent soccer player, and I guess pretty athletic, and a lot of the girls on our soccer team, he was mentoring them, and he was coaching a local Y ball team, and said, "Amy, why don't you come play?" And I don't know. I guess I was kind of reluctant at first. I thought, well, I've never really played basketball. I was a little intimidated by it, but I went out and played because all my friends were on the team and I wasn't doing anything else. There was no softball going on and soccer wasn't going on. So, okay, yeah, basketball. And I think it was one of those things where you fall in love with something right away. It was love at first sight type of thing. And so I just had a little bit of success, and then that just made me more hungry to try new things and to go on with that sport.
So your inspiration and your talents, your blossoming talents and your work ethic takes you to high school, and you make the varsity as a freshman. And I just can't even imagine being a young woman walking in with older kids. And what was that like?
Oh, I was really nervous, of course. I was just hoping to make. We didn't have a freshman team like the boys. Boys usually have 3 levels in high school. But for girls, we had JV and varsity. And I was just hoping to make the team. I hadn't played a lot of organized basketball at that time. I'd played a couple of seasons of YMCA ball. And but it was a decision I made because I had played a lot of soccer. And soccer and basketball were at the same time. They were played at the same time at that point in the winter. And I said, I play club soccer, so I'm going to try out for high school basketball. And was really nervous about it, but went in and after, almost making myself pass out doing drills in the tryouts, the coach said, I'm going to bring you up and we're going to challenge you. You might not get to play, but that was huge. I was just ecstatic and nervous and excited all at the same time.
So now you go on, you become a great player. Now you're a senior. I mean, you scored 33 points in a CIF playoff game, still one of the highest totals ever against Gunderson. And you start to get recruited. And I know, the recruiting process has changed quite a bit from when you played to now, and the exposure that's out there, is drastically changed with camps and exposure and scouting services and whatnot. What was the recruiting process like for you?
Well, the recruiting process was mostly old-fashioned letters in the mail and telephone calls, and even on the house phone. So it was a lot different. I can't remember specifically what the rules were as far as how much contact coaches could make and those kinds of things. But I remember, the phone ringing and my mom would say, oh, it's Mary Hile from University of San Francisco. It's like, oh my gosh, I'd be super nervous to talk to her, and oh wow, a college coach is calling me or whatever. So it was exciting. It was, a little bit nerve-wracking at the same time. I can't imagine what it's like for kids today that are going through the whole process. It seems like it's a lot bigger and a lot more complex. So I mean, I hear stories and see from kind of the periphery of what that is for them. And it's so much, I think, for both sides to have to keep track of, both the coaching staffs and the recruits themselves.
Did you realize at the time what a talented player Mary was? I mean, I knew you were as a coach, but did you realize how special she was as a player?
Not initially, I didn't. I had told my high school coach, I said, yeah, this coach from USF called me Mary Hile. And he said, Mary Hile, she is one of the best players, women's basketball players, because she also played in the same area. She grew up in Sunnyvale, which is right next to where I grew up. And my high school coach certainly had heard of her and knew who she was. And he said, yeah, you do well to get to play for her, because she was an amazing basketball player and she's become an amazing coach.
A great leader, very humble, and she's very impressive person. What on the recruiting visit? You're at USF. What excited you about the place? What began the love affair with USF?
I'm a big connection person, feeling comfortable, and for me, that relationship and connectedness hit right when I walked on campus. I mean, with the people I met, whether that was people in the athletics department, this faculty and staff at large, other students, other student athletes, it just felt like I was clicking with people right when I walked on campus. And that's what drove it home for me. I didn't feel that anywhere else I went.
So, your career, you become an all-league first-team player. You score 1,159 points in your career. I think all great players have a little bit of insecurity, this drive that we have to be better and always driving to be more. Tell me about that. Did you feel a little insecurity, or what drove you to become a player? What were you trying to prove?
Really, Frank, I was thinking about this the other day. What was that? And we talked about having a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. And I thought, why? Why would I have a chip on my shoulder? I don't know, but I did. And I think a big part of that was, being a female athlete. I wanted to show the guys, just people in general, that women can be athletic too and are athletic. Yeah. And that really drove me, honestly. It still fires me up when people say, oh, girls can't do this, or, they can't do that. It lights me up. I want to encourage the girls, and it's so wonderful to see how much the game has progressed since when I was in school, just, 25 years ago. It's a long time, but I'm so impressed with what the athletes do now and how much they've improved the game of women's basketball and just sports in general.
Encouraging others, I think, role models are so important. I've always been into that, like people that look up to people, and there's a responsibility with being a role model. And what would you say to the young girls who are looking up to you, or in the way you looked up to other people? What advice would you give someone on the track, whether it be professionally or athletically?
Well, I think to just keep plugging away. I mean, don't let people put you down. Don't let them tell you what you are. And you have to kind of discover that from yourselves and keep working at it. Find your passion and then cultivate that. And don't be afraid to maybe switch gears. If you're going in one direction, you think that's where you got to go, but something else interests you, go ahead and explore that. And right. I think with athletics, I just think, you want to encourage them, be there for them in person, whatever they need. It gets frustrating at times, talk through with them some things. I think just to continue to not give up, that there are hard times. It's okay. And you just got to plow through and continue forward.
In a lifetime of athletics, and you create a lot of memories, and this is going to be a hard one. Could you pinpoint a favorite USF memory on or off the court, or both?
Well, I think off the court, I think about maybe kind of the smaller things with my teammates that just are favorites, like we had to stay at Lone Mountain during intercession one year, and right. We would spend our evenings trying to scare each other because it's kind of this big old building, and just cracking up, or team road trips, and or in the training room before a game or practice, just talking about life or what's going on. I think those are really things that stand out. And but as a kind of a favorite moment on the court, I think one that really is big for me is beating USC at home. That was another one of those games where we played a team from a bigger conference, and they were ranked, and they had a player, Lisa Leslie, who went on to become one of the WNBA's all-time greats. And I don't know that they really thought much of us. And so we were really fired up about that game. I don't know if it was just chalkboard, locker room stuff that Bill and Mary told the story about, they're coming in this morning. They didn't even come in last night. They're going to come in and roll over you guys. So we played the game of our lives, and we beat them. And it was just one of those games where everything clicked for each of us individually and as a team. And that was something that we were all in the zone at the same time. It was an awesome thing.
That's awesome. Amy, you have such a great history of service. You went back to to Lick Wilmerding High School to be the head basketball coach there, and then went back to your old high school to coach with your old high school coach. I think that says so much about you. Number one, for your relationship with your high school coach, that you would feel that strongly to go back and coach with him, and also to coach at Lick Wilmerding. Tell me about that. What was it like coaching high school basketball?
Well, I think it was humbling. I think my first year back or after I graduated from USF, that was my first job. I was a long-term substitute at Lick Wilmerding, and then was their varsity women's basketball coach. And, you think you know a lot about the game, and then you go try to coach it. And it's a completely different scenario. I think every player should have to take, a season and try to coach, because you learn so much more about the game when you do that. So it was a little intimidating, honestly. And I realized, wow, I got to figure out what to do with all the players and not just the perimeter players. So that was something that was challenging, but fun. I really enjoyed the experience from that perspective, from the coaching perspective. And then taking what I learned there and being able to go back and coach at Monte Vista, where I played with really probably one of my favorite people in my whole life was my coach, Virgil Pate, there. And having that experience and having some really good teams there and being able to help those players in some way was just very gratifying and something I'll never forget.
When you talk about the ideals of USF, there's this sense of changing the world and paying it forward. And I love hearing that you went back to work with your high school coach who had such a profound impact on you. And then you go and pay it forward with kids that you coached is pretty special. And I know from my experience with you, coming to join our staff as the color commentator for women's basketball. And the first year, you didn't get paid, you volunteered. I thought that was so impressive that you would give up your time, not only to come to the home, you have to travel to the away games just to serve your school and to serve women's basketball and to serve our students. I thought that was so impressive. What made you migrate into that role?
Well, thank you. First of all, I think it was more a blessing for me to be able to do that, to be able to come back and be a part of the athletic department again in some small way, and with the women's basketball team in particular. But I think one of the things that's always resonated with me about the University of San Francisco is that, they really want to cultivate people who are men and women who are in service of others. And I think that started with my parents and my family at large, and again, then the USF family. And I think, that's what we're here to do. We're here to encourage and lift people up and support one another. And I think it doesn't have to be some grandiose way of doing it. It's just showing up and being there for people and supporting them in whatever way you can. And I think that is really what drove me to want to give back. So many people at USF gave to me, and I wanted to try to do that for the student athletes that are there now.
That's awesome. And I'd like to finish this up just by asking you one question.
Sure.
You serve on the Hall of Fame committee. You're on the AD circle. You're our announcer. You're working with students. I ask you one simple question. Why are you still here? What draws you back to USF to be a part of the Dons tradition?
Well, I'll take it back to it's that being in service of others and wanting to pay it forward. I think you look around the staff, yourself, everybody there, they want to help student athletes succeed and the students at large. They want to make sure that the kids that are there are having a great experience and getting opportunities. And I think you see that. And I think that's what we're supposed to do. I think we're supposed to lift others up. And I think that's USF is providing for me again and giving me the opportunity to do that for others. And so I think it's just a full circle type of thing. You give and you get, and it's just it's what brings me there and why I'm so in love with the school.
Well, Amy, you're an amazing representative of the university and your high school upbringing and your family, and it's proud to partner with you and work with you as part of our external team at USF. And I want to thank you for your time and for the difference you have made as a student athlete, as a role model, as an advocate for women's sports, as an outstanding basketball telecast analyst, and as a mentor in your commitment to change the world from here. Thanks for your time, Amy. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Frank.